this fantastic Doodle Santa Hats card today. I'm just going to get all the tech set up, make sure everything's working well. Do let me know if you can hear me. If you're watching along live, give me a little thumbs up or a comment. That would be fab. It's all looking good this time. So I've got the screen in front of me so I can see just with a bit of a time delay. But it means I can see your comments as they come in. So if you've got any questions during today's workshop, just do pop them in the live chat and I can answer them. And there's no wrong questions because I'm sure other people were thinking them. If I always point out if I miss a step. Or has happened in the past, if I lose something within this space, you can generally tell me where I put it. Excellent. So let's get started. That looks like that's all working. Wonderful. So this Doodle Santa Hats, it's got these red doodles on each of the Santa hats. And then the cute robin. So there's two versions of this card. We've got the white version with the bright red. And then the craft and cream versions of a more rustic style. So you can choose your favourites. And let's find out which one we're making today. So I've wrapped up one of them, but obviously I'll be making one version and you'll be able to follow along with either or. So let me just gently open this up. Oh, I wasn't gentle enough. I'm trying to reuse the paper. There we go. So we're going to make the craft version today. So if you've got the craft or the white version, you can follow along with this same tutorial. That won't be a problem. So we are, let's move this out of the way. Very rustly. So in your kit, you'll find an envelope, the card blank with my logo on the back, and a large red square, either the darker or the brighter red. Then you've got the robin and Santa hats there, and then you've got lots of little squares. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So 7 of those with Santa hats on, and then you've got 2 that are plain. So 9 squares in total. And then you've got the ho 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 and the matching mount. And then this piece, which some of them I can't remember on the craft along kits. I think I was stamping the whole robin for you, but I'm trying to save a bit of card and just stamp the robin redbreast on there. So let me just move this to one side while I tell you about the other kits. There's a logic to this. There we go. So just put these labels on here so we've got that for reference. So the sizes. That's 5 by 5 inches, and these are 9 squares that are 1 1/4 inches square. Just in case you're making it from scratch. So, as I said, so we're going to be making it from the advanced kit today. So all these pieces are the advanced version, and we'll be halfway through today's workshop. It will switch into the beginner's version. So the advanced is all stamped like this. The beginner's version are all doodled for you already. Everything's cut out and coloured in. So you're assembling the card, and you can choose to do things differently, add more embellishments, or do your own thing, or have a nice, quick, easy crafting session and have an awesome card at the end of it. The other type of kit is the expert kit, which includes the stamps. So all the designs we're working on this week are using the Santa's Little Robins stamp kit, which has, I believe, 26 different individual stamps that you can peel off of this sheet and use with an acrylic block to stamp all the images that we're using. So I've some great ideas this week for how you can use these stamps to make some awesome Christmas cards. So today you will need, so the Santa hat is down here in the corner, and you'll need the ho ho ho, and obviously the big robin, and that's all you'll need. So if you've got the expert kit, you'll get the stamps, and you'll get the card stock, so the actual sheets of A5, A4 card, in the red, cream, or the white and red. So everything you need to make that. So if you want to prep, if you need to prep that, you're welcome to pause the video and just prep the pieces you have. So the 5 by 5 inches on the red, and then 9 squares, 1 1/4 inches. And then with the ho ho ho, if you stamp the ho 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 and cut a nice rectangle around it, and then cut the mount to match with an even border. That's fab. Okay. Right, let's get cracking. Let me just leave that there for you to learn that. No. Oh, hang on a sec, one more thing. So in the advanced kit, or the expert kit, you'll have the red fine liner. It's got a red tip there. I was actually doing some practice ones this morning, and I managed to accidentally grab the black version. You'd think the bright red end would help, but no, I got a nice surprise when I started doodling in black. So yeah, so we've got a nice red fine liner. The kits, I've got a selection of either 0.2 or 0.3. I've tested out both. They're very similar widths. It's just a slightly thicker line, but they both work brilliantly. To which one you have. And yeah, I love these pens. I think they draw really smoothly, and give a really rich, lovely red. I found a lot of fine lines can look a bit sort of bright orangey kind of red, but these are a lovely pen. So that's what comes in the kit. You'll also find in your kit the foam pads, just carrying on from the one we used yesterday. So we have the foam pads, and then in addition today what you'll need is, if you've got the advanced kit, you'll need some pens. If you've got the pro markers to match these, I've got the raw sienna and the burnt sienna, but any browns would do. And then we're going to need some glue. This is my double-sided tape dispenser, just like the old Tipex mouse we used to have at school. That's very useful, quick and easy to use. And then some wet glue as well, so I've got the glossy accents to use. You'll need some scissors, and you'll need a wooden spoon. More on that later. That's okay. Okay, now we're ready to get started. I'll move that away. Right, so we're going to start today by colouring in the robin. So we don't need to colour, because we're going to use the card to be his red breast, and that really helps keep, so the tone is obviously exactly the same as the tone in the on the card in the background, and so it's really nice to tie it in together. Let me put that there. You can still see that. So we're using the pro markers. Now the raw sienna is just for his beak. I'm going to use the burnt sienna. And what I'm going to do for this one, because it's actually quite a large area for pro markers. Pro markers are really good. They're alcohol based, so they they create a really lovely flat finish. So if you imagine with the sort of felt tip pens you used to have at school, when you'd have like lines on your work, sort of try and sort of keep all the lines are going to be visible, so it's like, can you keep them all in the same direction? Whereas this actually it blends and it creates a lovely flat finish. It's great on small areas. I find the body to be just on the edge of that. You've got to focus to make sure you do it all in in one, I say one sitting, you know what I mean? So don't get distracted by talking whilst you're on a live live video. So I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna use the chisel end of the Pro marker. There are 2 tips, so you've got a fine one on this end and a chisel, like a highlighter one, on the other. So when I start the highlighter, and I'll probably switch to the chisel, start with the chisel and then switch to the other one. I'm also not fussed about going over the lines because we're going to be cutting this out anyway, so make sure I'm going to keep the line, keep his beak uncoloured and just up to the top of his breast. Basically, where possible, where it's a large enough area, I'm just going to sweep across. Just a bit here. Switch to this one. And then anywhere that just there we go. To let myself get distracted whilst doing that. So that will dry into a lovely flat finish. You can then go back in, which we probably will do in a bit, to add some shading onto him as well. I'm not going to colour in his beak straight away, just because while the pens are still wet, the 2 colours would start to bleed together, so I'm going to let that dry for 30 seconds or so. That's not a problem. So actually, while we're doing that, let's cut out the red breast. So for this one, I'm going to keep that white line. So I'm going to cut around the bottom of the 2 rainbow arcs. I was going to say arches, that's not the right word. So do let me know, say hello in the comments, and let me know if you're making the white or the craft version of this card today. Wonderful, that will go on there. So let's have a chance to dry. So I'm going to use the raw sienna just to colour in his nose and his beak. Oh, his beard nose to me. Oh, we missed his toes. Let's come back and just colour in. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of shade to around where his wings join. So the benefit of the Pro mark as well, so that when you do it quickly, they blend together to make a seamless finish. Once they've had a chance to dry, you can add the same colour on top, just to give a darker tone, because it actually sits one on top. Excellent, and maybe just a little bit on his toes as well. Right, now we're going to cut him out. So we're going to use a small pair of sharp scissors, and we're going to cut around the black outline of the robin. And then I'm just going to cut around the shapes to get rid of some excess card. And come back in, because it makes it a lot easier to trim when you haven't got lots of excess card, like dragging against the scissors. So what I'm doing is keeping my hand with the scissors, I'm keeping that quite still, and I'm rotating the card around to follow the shape of the robin, and I'm aiming for the outside of the or the outer edge of the black line. It's a nice thick line, so you've got some wiggle room. And then just snipping off that excess bill that's getting in the way. And then just around his toes, or feet, or claws. Haven't quite worked out what I'm calling each part of the bobbin yet. Maybe by the end of the week I'll have it all agreed. Go. Put to one side. Okay, so we're going to stick the bobbin redbreast onto him there, and we're just going to keep the white line. Excellent. So what's great about this is that we know exactly where to add the glue onto here to place that on top, which is a lot easier than trying to lower something that's got glue on it onto. So this is so using the wet glue. This is Glossy Accents, which isn't actually a glue, but it works very well as a glue, and it does get. I haven't got much left in here, so let's see if it's blocked or not. There we go. So if it is blocked, I find it does. It's just what happens with these, but I just use a needle to pierce through the top. Put that to one side. I'm just going to let that dry a little bit because it's a really, what makes it a really useful glue. Let's leave it on there for a sec. Is that it doesn't dry immediately. I'd say it takes 2 to 3 minutes to fully set, and in that time it's really movable, if that's the right word. So yeah, so basically at the moment if I put that on top it would be so slippy that it would just slide off and could make a mess, so not on the table. But giving it a chance just to cure a little bit means that we can still move. We can still move it into position. It doesn't slide off, or no glue sort of oozes out the side. So there we go. Got a nice clear white line there. And we'll let that dry. And while I do that, let's start on some doodling. So, I do love doodling. And this is the first, I think I've done some experimenting with doodling in colours, in different colour fine liners. This is the first kit I've produced that actually has colour doodling rather than black. But if you enjoy this, please do look back over my many kits I've produced with the black doodling. There's Christmas cards with ornate baubles. There's lots of birthday designs, flowers, and there's my work of art which is called Hope, which is a beautiful sort of lady's face with the hair, that sort of mermaid style hair flowing. I'll put a link into the chat after this, into the comments, so you can take a look at that. But yes, it's a lot of fun. So this simple technique of building up these little patterns, but if you keep going, it's quite mindful, and then you can have a beautiful work of art at the end of it. So yes, so what we're going to do is add some doodles to each of the hats. So obviously leaving the trim white and the bubble white. I've just got some, actually I've got some space on here as well, I can practice on here. So just to get used to using the pen, just get yourself in a comfortable position and just start drawing some lines. Always remember that you can move the paper or the card, so you can change the, trying to think of one that I want to do at different positions. So yeah, so you can move the paper rather than moving your hand, so keep yourself in a sensible position. And then I'm going to show you a few of my favourite doodles on here, so you're welcome to copy these as I'm doing them, or you can experiment with your own doodles and designs. So let's start off with, I'm going to start off with a grid pattern to start off with. Let me move it down a little bit so you can see. So I'm going to start off with this grid pattern, and I think you can see on here I've done a slight curve on the lines from the top to the bottom. So I'm just going to draw, so you can draw the red line all the way into the black inked edge. Quite handy because it disappeared on there. And then I'm going to draw the ones on the other way. So I'm going to start with a straight line from the top to the middle, and then I'm going to put these coming out at slight angles, and this kind of creates that 3D effect of the hat. Around, and you get your grid. So I'll leave that one as that. And then next, let's do the large spiral. So the large spiral, I'm going to start in the centre. I'm just going to start over here for this one. And I'm going to start the spiral. I'm going to keep going until I reach at some point, either the top or the bottom. I'm going to hit that black line at some point, and I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to imagine in my mind's eye where that curve would continue. That's it. And then keep on just imagining where that was, and once you're happy, you can sort of go to that end, and then so it looks like one giant spiral, but actually once you've drawn the original spiral to the edge, then you're just drawing lines out. Right, the next one, this is one of my favourite ones. It's really simple, but looks so effective, is the dots. So start off with the large dots, so actually draw in a sort of spiral until you get a full squash. They don't have to be perfect circles, in fact they could all be ovals or funny shapes, that's absolutely fine. So keep drawing them, remember sort of spread them out, so if you've got ones that, you can have ones that are kind of half coming on from the black line. So be happy that you've covered the whole area. And then go back through and do little ones. I'm just wiggling my pen a little bit on these ones and just hitting the big spaces in between. And then we can go one step further and just do light taps. And effects in between. It's a real fun one to do and very effective. And that's, so I think I'm going to do the little spirals on the one that they're going to cut out for the robin. So I'm going to do one little spiral, and I'm going to just keep them all nestled together. So you're going to start at one edge and build up these little spirals. You can do anti-clockwise and clockwise. And keep them all roughly the same size. I'm trying to avoid them overlapping. I'm just nestling them against each other. Okay, so once you've done all the full ones, I did automatically did some as I was going, but when you've got gaps on the edges where you couldn't fit a full one into, just sort of put a little half circles in there just to fill in the space, but you obviously can't do a full spiral, so that looks like that. And let's see how many we've got left. Let's do this one, I'm going to call it a hashtag then, but it's not hashtag, but it's the hashes, so 3 hash lines one way and then the other way. Kind of reminds me of like a metal staircase. We've got the grip one way or the other. So I'm going to start this one by drawing a strip of them in one line. So I'm going to do 3 dashes one way, 3 dashes the other way, and I'm going to keep this a straight line. And that's good, so it starts as your sort of anchor point, and then you can build up around it. So you're doing the opposite from what's above. So if it's 3 lines down, then you can do 3 lines across. And then repeat. Yes, I've put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Do you believe that was my husband? So I think he's a priority contact, which then makes you think I should have answered the call, but I'm not going to answer the call. I'll call back if he needs me. There we go. Oh, tell you what, I've got a few different ones on here as well. I'm going to do this. I didn't use this one on here. I really like this one. Kind of reminds me of like fishnet stockings, I think, because of the thickness of the lines. So I'm going to start this one by drawing pairs of lines in little curves. So pairs of lines with the sort of bigger gap in between. Okay. I'll big gap there. That'll be right. And then I'm going to go back over these and just, actually let's start with the zigzag. So in the small, actually no, let's do the larger sections. It's going to be the zigzag. So I'm going to draw lines going in one direction and then do the perpendicular one, the lines going the other way. So again, rotate the card so that you've got a comfortable position to draw the lines. And don't worry if the start and ends are a bit messy, because we're going to fix that with picking up those lines in a sec, which I believe is why they're thicker on here anyway, because I was fixing something that went wrong on that one. I say went wrong. Things don't go wrong on doodles. I've got a whole blog post on this on my website, because that's the joy of doodling. It's like you might make a mistake on one section of a pattern and then repeat it on every other section of the pattern, and it actually creates a whole new pattern, which is you wouldn't have thought of doing. And there's many ways that you can disguise little mishaps, or if you're making a large piece, then actually, unless you point it out to someone, no one's going to see those little mistakes that are bugging you, which is, it's very freeing. Once you've experienced that a few times, that can give you the confidence that you don't feel like you've got to get it right first time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over the lines we did originally, and we're just going to make them a little bit thicker, and then cover up any of the ends, the zigzag lines that either didn't meet the line or went over the line. So just those little thicken it up, and I think it definitely adds something to the design. So you notice on some of these, well, I guess I've got a slight curve on this one, but some of the ones I'm sort of following the shape of the hat, and I'm kind of like encouraging that whole kind of 3D. Other ones, it's just a flat surface to add a doodle in. Either way is fine, or a mix of both. And let's do a checkerboard next. So I'm going to do a similar sort of grid pattern across here, but I'm going to keep it quite large. Especially, depends how much time you have or how much patience you have, because the smaller you do it, the more sort of fiddly it is to colour them in. So we're going to start with the centre line, and then bring these lines out at an angle. There we go. And now to do the checkerboard, I'm going to pick a square and colour it in. There we go. And then we're going to colour in all the squares diagonal to that one. Two ways of doing this. One, if just stay quite focused on what you're doing, and just colour them in one at a time, radiating from that one. Or focus for a little bit, and actually, this is what I'm going to do, so I can chat away without worrying too much. I'm going to concentrate and add a little dot into each of the ones I need to colour in. I might as well just colour that one in because it's so small. So once I've done that, double check that, I can now let my mind wander, chat to you guys, and I'm not, I'm just following in. Now it's just a colour by dots. So it's a nice technique depending on how you're feeling, whether you want the distraction of focusing on colouring in the right squares, or you want the freedom to let your mind wander. Yes, I always find this quite a it's always the most eye-catching one on a doodle on a card or a piece of art. It's like the checkerboard always catches our attention. More to go. Little bits that I missed. There we go. And then, how many have we got left? We're down to the last one. That should be 7 in total. So that one's done, that's the 8th one. But then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. Okay, which one shall we do? let's do this. Very unceremoniously call it that. There's the fish scales or mermaid tail. Maybe that'd be nicer. So these little curved hoops. So for this one, we're going to start at one end. We'll start at this corner, and we're just going to start by drawing a hoop from a corner, and then what we're going to do is draw in from the side to the centre of that hoop, and the side, so the hoop is always going from the side to the one underneath, and that helps you keep them as quite large hoops, as opposed to sometimes they can start going quite flat. It takes a little bit more. You can tell I'm just talking less. It takes a little bit more concentration. If you find it getting tricky to work out where to go, make sure you bring another hoop in from the side. So if you've enjoyed this little dabble into doodling, do take a look. I offer a free 8-week self-study course on my website, which will take you through, it's called Doodle with Della, and it will take you through learning lots of different doodles. So for the 8 weeks, there's like the worksheet for each week to work on, and a live lesson, not a live lesson, they were live, a recorded lesson that you can watch, and some projects ideas as well. So there's a whole booklet of different doodle projects that you can tackle. Oh, one more thing to doodle. I love this bit. So on the ho ho ho, we're going to add just simple lines, diagonal lines, and it just transforms it into that what looks like little candy canes. It's so cute. So sort of keeping them all in the same direction. And the exclamation mark as well. Don't forget to do the point. There we go. So that is all the doodling. So I'll put that pen to one side. And next we're going to do is cut out the hat. So yeah, make sure it's not one of the ones that are on a square. I've tried to keep, either I've stamped it on the same card as the robin or onto an oblong piece of card or a rectangle piece of card, so it doesn't get confused. So we use the sharp scissors again, and we're going to cut around the black outline. We're going to cut out the whole hat. Again, just cutting off the excess card. It starts to appear. And then I'm going to cut along the edge, so again, keep it on the outside of the black line. So it should leave a completely black edge. Okay, just getting that little bit in the corner there. A bit where the card goes all fluffy. Right, that's that done. So, right, let's move these out of the way slightly so I think it's time to assemble the card. In fact, apart from sticking the belly on, I believe this is what you will receive if you're starting the kit from the beginner's version, although his tummy or the red breast would not be stuck on. All the rest will come like this. So we're now ready to curve these. So let's grab your wooden spoon. So quite often use a wooden spoon in these sessions. I'm going to use it to curve because it's a nice thick cylinder, but also I always say wooden spoon just because it's something that everybody has. However, normally in my craft rooms, obviously, I'll generally have the pro markers to hand, so it's also a suitable alternative. But what we're going to do is start with the hat because it'll be something else. So we're going to curve the hat, but we're going to when I say curve it top to bottom or left to right, not sure. But yes, lay it on the handle like this, and we're not going to try and bend it all the way around. We're just going to gently push against the curve all the way along. And it will just give us a slight curve to the hat. And then we'll do the same with the robin. Now he'll take a little bit more pushing because he's got the red card is really thick. Right, just roll along the back. So you'll find if you just do it sort of very gently to start with, you do it 3 or 4 more times, it will give a little bit more each time, so it doesn't need to be all in one go. Okay. Beautiful. So next, let's start. What should we do? Okay, let's glue the. I'm going to try and do it in the same order as I've done the written instructions. So we're going to glue his hat onto the top there. And so we're going to cut a small piece of foam to add the hat onto his head. So your foam pads in the kits will come in these sheets. They've got backing on both sides, so they're sticky on both. Well, you'll find, depending on what you want to use it for, they'll be either too small or too big. They'll be too big. I need to cut them down. Let me just get these. Got my sticky scissors today. Actually very sticky, I need to clean. So what I'm going to do is cut just a sliver off the end like that. So to help keep your scissors not get too sticky, always cut the foam pads when you've got both sides of the backing on, rather than trying to cut it now because the stickiness will attach to the scissors. So let's place that on the bottom of the hat. That's a bang, I started up outside my window. I wonder which neighbours and what they're up to out there. And so we're going to position the hat onto his head. Okay. And then we're going to add some more foam pads on the back. So what we're going to do is try and add foam pads down the centre line so that we can keep that curve and it doesn't flatten out. And what I'm going to do is just going to add a little bit of foam at the top to level out the hat. So he's going to need an extra extra bit there. And then remove the backing because I'm going to add a second layer on top. And add the foam pads there. So leave that backing on because we're going to position everything onto the card. Next, I see. So keeping the foam pads in the centre line, we can keep that curve. So it's got a lovely 3D effect. So let's glue this the large square onto the card back. So that's going in the centre. Just make sure you've got the card the right way around. The logo on the back. Double check there's no marks on the card. So using this is the double-sided tape dispenser. So you can use this with any glue suitable for paper or card. That's not a problem. I just find that one really quick and easy to use. Line it up so you get an even edge on all four sides. There we go. And then we can start playing with the layout. Tell you what, let's just do the greeting onto the mount because that's not going to change. Just when I say that you're easy to use, and sometimes without the glue at the very edge so that it grips to the card. And again, aiming for an even border, very thin border this one. And glue in place. And I'm going to add a couple of foam pads to the back of that one as well. So we're going to do one layer this time, so the robin will be higher than the greeting. Right, now we can arrange our hats in a 3x3 grid, and then the two plain squares go in the bottom right corner. Obviously that's how I designed it, but you can pick and choose. So let's do a couple of other options. Let's see what it looks like if I do it this way around. We're here to experiment. So you can position the hats. Now what I've done is, move that so it's in the centre. So what I've done is kept a larger border around the outside and then placed the squares closer together. And so the hats have two different, so you might change the rotation of the hats. I've just done it all the same way. So let's change a few of them because that looks a bit too uniform for my liking. Let's do that way. And then, so the idea of this card is that the hat that the robin is wearing is in the square that's missing one. So we could do it that way around, or let's put him at the top. How about that? If I stumble across a card that I prefer to everyone's going to be. But that looks really nice, isn't it? In fact, I might go with that one. Yeah. Right. So I just want to change the rotation because I'm finding these two are quite like that way. Rotate them around. Also, you can look at whether you've got some doodles that are darker than the others. So obviously the checkerboard is one that sort of really draws focus, so is this one. So you might just make sure they're not together, clustered in one corner. Oh, that's nice. Ooh, it's gone a bit upside down. Let's switch that over. Come that way. There we go. So once you're happy with the layout, happy with that, I'd keep everything. It's normally a lot of cards I'd say take a photo, but actually for this one, once you take off the robin and the greeting, then actually these ones you can start just sticking them down one by one and just keeping the grid in place so that you can line everything up. So take a moment just to get everything in exactly the position you'd want it. I think I've got slightly wider on this side, so I'm just going to move them across. There we go. Right, we need to start removing one. Add the glue. Place. So I'll just repeat this. And it's worth taking your time getting the positioning right, and then you can take your time gluing these so you know you've got them in the right place. I'll go down through the middle. Ooh. Ah, I checked the other day that there was quite a bit left. I've just run out of my glue. That might be why it's playing up. Let me just go and grab another refill. So they're very handy. They come with these handy refills. And then you can just take the old one out. Pop the new one in. I bet by the time I've done this, you'll have finished sticking all the squares on. There we go. Just takes a few on some scrap paper here, just a few rolls just to get it started, and then it's good to go. So where I've cut these out, I've gone there's quite precise squares that I've cut out, so I can go for a very precise grid on here. If you've cut out the squares yourself and they're not quite all the same size or all the same squares, then feel free to do them higgledy-piggledy. So on the wonk, as my sister used to say. And that gives you the sort of freedom that everything's not perfect. And it looks like it's deliberately done. This one's a bit far out. little bit. There we go, 2 more to go. I'm gluing this all out of sight, aren't I? Let's do that way. Oh, I bet that one was. So when I'm changing these, I'm just lifting a corner slightly and then twisting it off of the card. Just realised I had that one the wrong way round. There we go. And then we can add the robin and the ho 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 on there. So I've got some glue on that end of that card. Bugging me. Always the perfectionist. So I think as long as you've got, I think we're happy that that's going to fit nicely on there. So I'm going to fit the ho 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 on first. I'm going to get central and then similar to the bottom. Covering up a lot of, that one's one of my favourite ones, it's a shame. And then adding the robin on, so I'm just going to aim for have his toes, his feet, his claws, whatever you want to call them, just on the top of the ho ho ho, if he's perched on there. Go. So push them down, and there we have the finished card. And I really like that, the central version. I might put it to a vote on the Facebook page this afternoon to see whether you like the original or the new version. So yeah, so you can even make this card in the white version or in the craft version like we have done today. It's a fun, versatile card. You can, once you've mastered the art of adding doodles and enjoying doing that, then yes, you can add doodles to lots of stamps. So yeah, feel free to stamp out any more images. I think like this one might be fun, that Santa hat, to divide in sections and do different doodles. Or even the robin redbreast would be quite fun to have that as well. So yeah, lots of ideas. Wonderful. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. If you've watched along live, please do say hello in the live chat and give me a thumbs up. That would be great. That really helps reach other crafters as well. And you can join me for all this week is the Christmas craft along. So at 1 PM every day I'll be showing you how to make a card in a nice, relaxed, no rushing style tutorial using the Santa's Little Robins stamp set, which is all designed by me. Wonderful. Thank you ever so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.